it's a Cinderella story, right? You have the orphan, she wears the glass shoe, it fits to an extent, and then she's like, fuck this. Okay. Okay, so I called you up to bother you because I want to rant about, I don't even want to rant. I want to, what's the word for it? Like, I'm super happy about it. I want to excitedly talk about
Yeah.
a movie, which I know for a fact you haven't seen, called Ready or Not.
What if I've seen it? No, but
You
tell me anyways.
100% haven't seen it because you hate horror movies, and this is a horror movie. It's a
Oh, then that's great.
comedy.
Great. Yeah,
Yeah.
just give me a briefer.
So it's basically about this girl named Grace. She's getting married to her really wealthy husband, Alex, and they're getting married at Alex's super wealthy parents' house. But what we learn about this family is that there's something ominous happening. So she gets married, and then immediately, like on the night of the or the eve of the wedding, she has to sit at a table with her whole like in-laws in the family and essentially draw a card that determines a game that you play, and it's like a tradition.
Mm.
Except she draws up this card called Ready or Not, like hide and go seek, and it's a game where, well, it's not what it seems. I'm gonna spoil it for you. I'm sorry. So if
Good.
you guys haven't seen the movie, close it now because there's gonna be a lot of spoilers nonetheless. Um, Basically, it's a game to the death. All of the family is there to hunt her, and she has to survive till dawn. Yeah, it's a horror comedy, so like it actually is really funny. Um, and essentially like the main plot is to kind of satirize the patriarchy in a sense, right? Like the whole thing is poking fun at a very toxic dynamic. Um, and like when I first watched it, I loved it. I thought it was like a really cool movie. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, wait, hold up. I watched it for Halloween and I was like, this is like the perfect movie for my like women in violence series that I've been doing under Mindful of Movies on Plat. And like I did one for Phantom Thread because like I got super passionate about it. I got super nerdy about it to be honest.
Yes.
Because there's just so much layers in Phantom Thread, but that's a different discussion. What I wanted to talk about in
Mhm.
this one, I was like watching it and I was like, hold up, there's so many layers to this that I hadn't noticed before. And the first one, and this is why I really wanted to talk to you about it, like in particular, is because it's about fashion. The costuming was incredible.
Okay.
Um, so they show Grace originally in like her wedding dress, and she's like all decked out in white, and she's sitting by this window, not window, a mirror, and she's smoking. And I thought it was really interesting because like when I first watched it, I was like, wow, this is like a character choice. They're trying to make her like, oh, I'm not like other girls. I smoke a cigarette, whatever. And then
Mhm.
the second time I watched it, I'm like, fuck no, it is intentional because we get this character who in her heart does not fit the image of like the virgin wife. Well, number one, she's not a virgin. Number two, she's like smoking. She's already breaking the very like stereotypical wow, can't speak today. Stereotypical image of like the virgin bride, right? That's like pure, who's like chaste, right? Um, and so I started watching that scene like under a different lens because I realized like, okay, hold up, there's a circular thing, and I'm gonna come back to that in a second. So then you have her in like this dress and she's talking to her husband and like things are, it seems like right off the bat, they show that she doesn't fit the expectations. And it makes her like kind of a pick me girl, but at the same time, I'm like, wait, this is so intentional. And then it escalates, right? So the costume, they show that she's wearing the dress, her hair is tight in a bun. And as the movie slowly progresses, you started seeing a shift in both the way that the dress is shown and her hair. It starts to loosen. There's a very, very significant moment where she chooses to rip the dress. And like it's super funny watching it because you're like, okay, like realistically, you can't rip a dress, like if we're really into the technical part of it, but like also metaphorically, it was just so on the nose that you're like, okay, like I guess nuance is out of this movie, but I think it worked perfectly because like that was the moment where we see her kind of engage in like agency, like where she's no longer a passive victim to what's happening to her. She's like actually trying to change the game. She's trying to be a part of it reluctantly, like she doesn't want to be there, but she also recognizes that she wants to survive. So we see this person will to survive kind of come out forward. And like through her costume, we see her subvert gender norms, gender expectations.
Mm.
So I started like going through a whole rabbit hole on that, which made me realize that actually, hold on, there's more to do with language as well. So she starts off very pure and people pleasing, right? Like she's trying to emulate what the perfect wife would look like, how she could fit in this family. And they already established like this power dynamic between the two because Alex is super wealthy. She's an orphan with not a lot of money. So this is like a dream situation for her. Um, and then like so you have the stakes there set out for her and it's like perfect. And then you get like these moments where you realize that like she really has no power throughout this until the game begins. And then she starts like you see her identity kind of take take the screen, right? Like she starts well, I think it kind of is emulated by the fact that she's fighting for her survival, which seems like a passive thing, but they actually make it very active because all of a sudden she's like poking fun at everything that's happening here. She's like, what the fuck? She starts swearing in the dialogue, which you don't see earlier. And I think that's super intentional. And at the end, you have this like one very pivotal scene where it's just a series of curses at a man, at a driver who like drove past her. And I was like, that like number one is the epitome of her all her emotions unleashed, but it's also super significant to understanding how she's resisting these norms. Like she literally physically cannot fit the image of the wife that was expected of her because it's unsustainable. And then you see it, and this is what I really wanted to write about with the other women, but I ran out of space in the article. There are like all these other women in the movie itself. Um, who are part of the family. So one's the actual daughter, the sister of Alex. And what's really interesting about her is that she's incompetent. And at first I was like, oh, it's comedic relief, but I also think it's intentional. She's also another figure who wants to fit in the patriarchal system but cannot. Then you have like Alex's mom, Alex's sister-in-law, and then his grandmother. And all three of them embody different versions of women who like they in order to survive this have to be a part of this system. So the grandmother is like the full kind of consequences of somebody who's exploited the system and gotten to the top. She's literal head of the immediate family, but she's brutal and she's vicious. And then you kind of see that trickling down into the mom and into the sister-in-law. And where you would think there would be like some sort of sisterly camaraderie, there is none. Like the mom even like enacts it, but it's all performative. Like she enacts performative femininity. And then you realize the whole movie is talking about performative femininity. And I was like, wait, this is fucking cool. And then like there's a whole scene with the teapot, which I was like, they're subverting the dynamics. Grace, she gets her like comeuppance, not by the gun, but by the fact she smashes this teapot over one of the butler's head early in the movie, um, inside the kitchen, which I was like, what is this movie doing consistently? It's literally rejecting any image of like well, any gendered image, right? It's poking fun at performative masculinity, it's poking fun at the patriarchy, but it's also saying that the image of womanhood, it's not sustainable. It just doesn't exist. It's literally smashing through all of it. Anyways, I got super excited. So I wrote a whole piece on it and I wrote like a very, like, I think out of everything I want to write, I got like this narrow spectrum, just honing in on Grace. Got super excited about it. So if you're interested, check it out. It's on polyplot.com. And Yulin, I know you hate horror movies, but I think you might just like this one because the dress is really pretty and women.
Women be fighting, yes. Be
Women
fighting
fight.
for fighting and dismantling, yes. Do have a few follow-up
Go for
questions.
it.
I don't know if this is breaking the rules,
It's
but we're
not.
breaking rules anyway.
There is no rules.
There are no rules. You heard it here, folks. Who no, I have two questions actually. Who was the most violent towards Grace in the movie? And who actually who actually got the closest to actively harming her? She's the main character. I'm assuming she is not going to be harmed unless they're going to do the main character dies in the movie. But who's the closest to her? Who are they?
Yeah, so okay, so this was like also really interesting. All the women were the most violent towards her. The
Okay.
men, and you had like this one guy, um, Alex's brother, I forget his name right now. I think it might be Daniel. Um, he kind of comes across as like the nice boy and then ultimately betrays them, but he's also the
Mm.
most reluctant to violence. And
Mm.
they show that like in like the so Daniel, the brother of Alex, I think they're twins. Um, they in the past they were shown to be hunting one of their, I think it was their aunt's husband after they got married. And so the aunt's husband was running and Daniel found him as he was running and then he called him out, right? So the guy got caught and he had a choice not to. So then they show that Daniel does like he's been harboring that guilt. So he doesn't
Okay.
kill, but his wife is like cutthroat. And his wife, ironically, is also very similar to Grace's character in the sense that like she came from a lower class family and she knows that this is the wealth that she wants. This is the family that she wants, and she has kids. So she's like she's keeping her family unit alive by enacting these forms of violence. Um, but yeah, we get like Daniel's character and he's very reluctant. And he's also like the biggest asshole because he betrays her. He lets her go the first time, and then the second time he's like, I've done my deed, right? So like we're good. I'm gonna betray you. So it's interesting to see that like all the women were the ones who were actually the most violent. Like the dad was just bumbling around. I don't think at any point he really did anything violent towards Grace. He was mostly chasing her. And then yeah, the other guy was like a bumbling idiot. He did not want to be there either. It was the women who were perpetuating it. And often like that was really cool to me because I'm like it's women against women most of the time here. Um, yeah, so
Can
those
I?
are fair.
I'm gonna add one more thing to
Go for
this.
it.
One of the first things that you said was when you were explaining the characters. I think you said it was either Alex's sister or our sister-in-law who you said, "Oh, they're showing her as incompetent." And then you said Alex's twin brother, he's a bumbling fool. He's an idiot.
Sorry, brother-in-law.
Brother-in-law, okay, is just bumbling around, very incompetent. They seem both to be very incompetent. Is could this also be saying how the patriarchy affects men as well, where it's like, do they even fit?
Yeah, I think it really was dismantling the whole system. And so like the end scene, the comeuppance, where Grace, well, the curse actually ends up being real. So like all of them explode one by one, and then she has her like moment where like Alex, oh sorry, I didn't tell you that, did I? That it's all
No, is that the spoil? Okay, well, put a spoiler alert before the right
yeah,
before this.
there's
Just like
there's a
put it
lot of
in big
spoilers.
red
Yeah.
text and just be like spoiler alert.
There's the whole article is spoiling it because I go really in depth into the analysis of it.
Okay.
Because I think it was like I think this is the kind of movie that can be rewatched. Like if you know what the spoiler is, it's not a big deal because I feel like the second time I went, I mean like if you haven't watched it, don't watch it and you've watched it this far, like I feel like the shock factor is gone.
It's not there anymore. No
Yeah.
jump scare.
Like, so I guess that might make it easier for you. Um, but like I think there was just so much intentionality in the way they wove this narrative together.
Mm,
Like they went with the intention that they're going to poke fun at the system, that the house itself is the symbol of the patriarchy. So that ultimately combusts, and Grace is the one that burns it down. And Grace is the one that sits down in her bloodied wedding dress, smoking a freaking cigarette. I'm like, this is fucking badass. But it's also like so important in terms of kind of utilizing violence as a way to dismantle identity, gender identity.
mm,
Um, because like they were taking this like like again, what were they poking fun at? It's like you have these men who want to be men, but why do they want to be men? It's because of the curse, the big old patriarchy. No one knows what it is exactly. Um, but
mm,
it drives them enough to do that. Why are the women being a part of this? Well, because they want to survive. Can the woman be part of this? Well, with the daughter who's born into the family, we see that like it's incompatible. She physically does not know how to fit in, even though she wants to. The two other
mm,
women who do want to, right, the mom and the sister-in-law, it's at the cost. of love in a sense, right? It's at the cost of their own femininity. They've become so cutthroat that like femininity is the only opposition to them, which is Grace. And then like you get and I think Grace kind of sees that, like there's like it's a catch 22, like to be a part of this family, you have to embrace the femininity, but at the same time it's incompatible. So you're stuck in this perpetual cycle that is just you battling yourself, right? Like I don't know, like I think that was very maybe yeah. Does that make sense what I've said? Or like I feel like I might have gone off
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah, because oftentimes we're thinking, okay, we have exited the generation of movies that's like, oh, she's all that or whatever, those sort of rom-com makeovers of women to become more feminine. You take off the glasses, you put on a skirt or a dress, you show off your curves, just be more feminine. But then this is just saying like, yeah, you can keep doing that until you die, until you get to the head of the family, and it will still not work out. So then you might as well
yeah.
just say fuck it and just like burn the entire thing down. Are you advocating for anarchy?
100%. But also, like, I think one of the major things that really drew me to this, and I forgot to mention this earlier, it's also in the article. Um, it's a Cinderella story, right? You have the orphan, she wears the glass shoe, it fits to an extent, and then she's like, fuck this. So, like, this is like a blatant kind of parodying of what because, like, again, Alex is supposed to be Prince Charming, and he is charming at the beginning. He is everything that she wants. He literally saves her. And then you realize what is the saving? What does that actually entail? And it all comes down to her identity, right? Like it all comes down to this expectation of what she's meant to fulfill as a wife. So like in another way you could argue it is that it's combating the expectations that are imposed in a marriage.
Mm.
Because that's also something that she dismantles. It's like the
Nice.
happily ever after, what the frick is that, right? Like that's this. Yeah, so there's a lot there. I honestly kind of want you to watch it so we can talk more about it because it's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I'm gonna be watching like
Yeah,
this
you
the entire
definitely
time. I'm
will.
gonna be like, is this gonna be okay? Okay.
It's pretty bloody, not gonna
It's
lie.
pretty bloody.
Yeah,
Ooh,
but like
okay.
it's comedic bloody, so I don't know if that might. No, and
I
then
now have another question.
go for it.
Who gets killed first and who gets killed last?
Oh, first was I think the servant that the daughter had accidentally shot because she was freaked out holding a gun. Yeah,
Okay.
and then the last is Alex.
Yeah, that that makes a lot of sense. Who does she have the most difficulty killing? Is it Alex or is it somebody else?
Well, the thing is, and this is like another really cool part, is that I don't think she actually enacts violence. Like it happens, and sometimes she like fights back, but mostly it's like her dodging it. Um, and like the comeuppance is like the karmic violence. They all explode. She doesn't kill them. She fights one of them. She fights, I think, Daniel and the butler. Um, but even those aren't that like violent. And I think like maybe it comes down to the fact that like for me the violence is her like very blatantly, very unapologetically ripping the facade that is being a wife, that is being a woman. So that kind of was where I was coming from. So violence for me when I was watching it in Grace's lens was like her swearing, was her ripping the dress, was her surviving, honestly. Um, which I know like very much stretches what violence looks like, but I think it's just the fact that it's fighting for something or
Yeah.
fighting against. So it was kind of like very much combating the power dynamics. But yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that's my
It's
long
very
spiel.
shocking. It's very shocking for me to hear because I've not watched this movie, nor honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna watch
That's
this
okay.
afterwards, but I now I'm more intrigued. But it's interesting that you say that she, on the whole, is not seen as violent, right? Like the things that she does, she's more dodging things, she's more defending herself, in a way that isn't physically harming the people themselves. But then I guess does it also go into like, oh, yeah, you said like the karmic comeuppance, the anger that you hold, the internalized patriarchy that you hold is only gonna just harm yourself in the end. No one's harming you for it, but you will harm yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. Other people will also actively harm you with it, but like you know what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, I don't know. Like I think again, this is kind of driving away from your point a little bit. I'm just
Go
kind of
ahead.
stuck on it. I think like one of the things that I best liked about it was that it was so messy. You know, like she
Mm,
was covered in the consequence, like she was collateral damage. She was covered in everything that was done to her, you know, like the blood, um, the mess, the dirt, everything that happened was displayed on her physical body. And I don't know, there's like it was kind of cathartic seeing that. Um,
mm,
but it was like again, like the movie does it really well. It visually dismantles, it visually tears apart whatever kind of category has been used to confine certain identities. Um, and again, like I'm very specifically focused on like wifehood and like womanhood, those
right.
two in particular.
Right.
But I also think it does do the same with men, just a little more quietly. Like I
Mm,
think someone could definitely go back and argue it on the other hand too.
mhm,
In general, like the whole point of it was so clearly like we're gonna have a shit ton of fun and we're gonna just poke fun at everything because this whole system is fucked and this is why. And you can kind of see it. So it's kind of yeah, it's fun. It's fun to watch.
it's nice to hear that it's fun. Like the fact that it's also satirical. It's trying to say like, hey, let's even in this manifesto that we've created in the form of a movie, let's not take ourselves or anybody else too seriously, right? This is not something that, you know, that we can't joke about or can't see from like a bird's eye view of being like, this is ridiculous. Why are we still buying into patriarchy kind of thing?
Yeah, I agree. And I actually posted my article on Reddit and the first comment that I got, which I thought
What'd
was
you get?
they were like, I know Samara Weaving is a great scream queen, but I wouldn't call her the best. I'm like, fair. That is so fair. But I think by all intents and purposes, I really, really felt like this movie in particular carried like I guess like so many movies that kind of dismantle the patriarchy, and I could go back to Phantom Thread in a sense too, right? There's an element of seriousness to it. Like it's very like it's dark, it's gloomy, it's broody. And then this one it was just messy, and apologetic, and it leaned into the comic, right? Like it leaned into making fun of itself, and the scenario that it was in. And I think that made it serious, but it also like made it accessible, you know, like it didn't feel like it was too much, that it needed to be analyzed. You could watch it for what it was, but it was there. The message is clear.
Mhm.
Again, like I'm super excited about this article, so it means a lot. Anyone who skims it over even. But yeah, let me know what you think. And if you guys have Scream Queens, you can put it on the list on Pellyplat as well. You can write your own article. Everyone's waiting to hear your opinion. All right. And also, do not forget to follow Mindful of Movies on Pellyplat.com. Thank you for having this conversation with us and listening, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
For sure.